Who dat to the Who Dat Nation? Welcome to the Who Dat Said podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your fellow Who Dat and host, Kevin Reed, and we have arrived at week 3 of the NFL season. The New Orleans Saints are still searching for their first victory of the year. They take their 0-2 record on the road as they travel to Seattle to try attempt to get a victory against the 1-1 Seattle Seahawks. This is, of course, the first road game of the season for the New Orleans Saints, and let's see, maybe they need a change of scenery. Maybe that will put some oomph in the effort to come away with a victory this Sunday at Lumen Field, which is the birthplace of beast mode that we went through, what that was, about 20 years ago. I don't know. It feels like forever, but it's still embedded in the hearts and souls of the Who Dat Nation. That was a devastating day. I can think back, and this wasn't part of the show notes, but it is just flooding my mind now. Thinking of the Saints traveling to Seattle, and I remember that playoff game. The Saints were 11-5, I think, or maybe they were 12-4. It was something crazy like that. But due to the way the standings were, the Saints didn't have a home game. They had to go on the road to play the division winners of the West, which were the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks were 7-9, but they won the division. That's how bad the NFC West was back then. It's completely different now. But back then, all they needed to do was win 7 games, and they won their division. And we had played Seattle a couple of weeks prior to that playoff game. Luckily, it was at the Dome, and the Saints demolished the Seahawks in that game. And so you're thinking, I'm thinking, the Saints were thinking, hey, maybe even the Seahawks were thinking, well, at least we made the playoffs. The Saints about to steamroll this team. Well, it didn't pan out. This was, I think this was the year after the Super Bowl. Yeah, it was that year. And we were the heavy favorites to return to the Super Bowl. That was our best team. Now, honestly, that was the best squad. Actually, I think that was 2011, if memory serves, but I could be wrong. That was our best squad, even better than the Super Bowl team, and we got literally ran over by Marshawn Lynch in that game. Boy, you talk about heartbreaking. That was a heartbreaking, and from that moment on, every playoff exit was equal to or greater as far as heartbreaking losses in the playoffs. It all began right there in Seattle. Hate Seattle. Hate Seattle with a passion. But transitioning back to present time, the Saints, of course, have lost 2 straight games, our first 2 games of the season, at home by seven points or less, which you look at that and, it could be worse. It could be worse. We could be getting monkey stomped, curve stomped by teams because nobody looks at the Saints as doing anything this season. Look like a team on a rebuild, which they are. They are a team on a rebuild, but they're fighting, which I'm encouraged by. But at the same time, in these 2 losses that the Saints have had this season thus far against Arizona and against the 49ers, those games were winnable at some point. The Saints could have won. At the very least, could have split and been the same record as the Seattle Seahawks at this point in the season. But instead, we're winless. Now, coulda, woulda, shoulda. we had our opportunities and we didn't take advantage of them. That's why we are where we are right now. But it's good to see a team that have fight, and that's the only thing that has me personally. I can't speak for the rest of the Who Dat Nation, but personally, that's what have me kind of encouraged, optimistic, going forward with this squad. Still not, dreaming of a playoff win. I talked to my cousin, God bless him, a fellow Who Dat, and he is still buying into the fact that maybe they can make the playoffs. Well, you look at around our division and we could still make a push and do this and do that. I'm not doing all that. I can't. My mental health won't let me. I cannot sit here and think of scenarios that might happen, but I know good and well is not. This team isn't ready. We're not ready. That's the point blank period. We're not ready. This team is still trying to find themselves. The Saints don't know what they are right now. Are they a pass happy team? Are they a running team? Who do you build the offense around? Do you build it around Spencer Rattler? Do you build it around Alvin Kamara? Do you build it around Chris Olave? There are elements, so many elements involved here that you have to evaluate. And you couldn't evaluate it during training camp and preseason because that's training camp and preseason. You have to get on the battlefield and actually be in the line of fire. And this is where we're at in these two games. I saw vast improvements from week 1 to week 2 in certain areas. I saw a better run game in week 2, but I also saw some digression. Defense in spots didn't look as crisp as they in the last week's game against the 49ers, whereas they looked better against the Arizona Cardinals. It's just trying to find that balance. And if the offense is struggling, you definitely need the defense to step up and vice versa. And right now it isn't happening. We're not on the same page, so to speak. We're basically trying to feel each other out as a team. And Kellen Moore, I'm not ready to throw him out with the bathwater yet. Yet. I did earn a little respect for him this week in one of his interviews at one of his press conferences where he pretty much took the blame. And that's what he's the leader. He's the head coach. He basically said he needs to coach better. And that's all I wanted to hear. I feel better. Because we've had coaches in the past. We all know who I'm talking about here. We had coaches in the past that were blame deflect. They'll say everything but them. Oh, the offense did this, or the defense should have did this, or the guys ran the wrong route, and all this here. That's not. It all that may be true, but that's not the place to do it in front of a microphone. But yeah, I do respect Kellen Moore for that. Taking the leadership role there and taking the blame for the team struggling for these last 2 weeks. But having opportunities at the end, that gets old quick. It gets old real quick. Trying to fight back at the end of the game to either tie or win. That's exhausting. When you look through the other 3.5 quarters where the game was never out of reach. The Saints have never, I ain't gonna knock on wood, have yet to be in a situation where they gotta score twice or, hope and pray for a turnover in order to get the ball back so they can hurry up and score quick and get it back again and score again. They've been in these games. And so just to use as an example, a last week game against the 49ers when we had the ball first, we drove the ball well, we had opportunities to score twice. There was a miscommunication on the touchdown throw that didn't happen. And then the field goal attempt we missed. So we walked away with no points there. And those 3 points, could have been a huge, huge factor moving forward in that game. You know, taking the lead at that moment could have played dividends for the Saints, but who knows? Who knows? But in any event, the Saints are already in Seattle. They traveled up there Thursday night, and they finished their week of preparation at the University of Washington. And the Saints actually lead the all-time regular season series against the Seattle Seahawks. They've played 16 times in the regular season. The Saints are 10-6 against the Seahawks in the regular season. Now, as far as being on the road, it's kind of closer to even. This will be the 10th time that the Saints travel to Seattle, but they hold a winning percentage at the moment at 5-4. So it's a little skittish, to say the least, when we travel to Seattle. So let's look around the rest of the NFC South real quick. I want to touch in on that. The Atlanta Falcons this week, they will travel to Carolina in a division battle against the Panthers. I guess Atlanta will be 2-1 after this week. But who knows? It's a division game. So who knows? But the Carolina Panthers are pretty much in the same position that we're in. They're 0-2. But like I said, their losses look bad. Their loss, with the exception of one. I think it was week 1. They were actually close to winning that game. Oh, it could have been last week. I can't remember. But the other game, I believe it was Tampa that monkey stomped the Carolina Panthers. I could be wrong, but it doesn't matter. But they play each other this week. You also have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They will be the host as they welcome in the New York Jets this week. The Tampa Bay is 0-2, and Tampa Bay looks good. I don't know if you saw that Monday night game, but Tampa Bay looks good. The way they just went through, the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans are kind of sputtering. They looked good a couple of years ago, but it's been the law of diminishing returns for them under DeMeco Ryan. But they still have a good defense. They made that defense look horrible. Baker Mayfield was cooking. Bucky Irvin was running down their throat. It was nasty looking. But they're 0-2. They look poised to win their fourth division title, maybe even fifth. I can't even remember, but I know it's been so long since anybody else has won the division. I know they've been the kings of the South, and rightfully so. I have a lot of respect for Tampa, but it looks like they're poised to do it again, especially this week against the Jets. The Jets, once again, they are 0-2 as well, and just same example I use. They look worse than the Saints, and I still hear people saying, and I'm talking major outlets, saying the Saints are the worst team in the NFL this season. Have they been watching football? Now, granted, Saints aren't great. Hey, I'll go as far to say they aren't good. But have you seen the Jets? The Jets look horrible. The Jets look downright horrible, and the Cleveland Browns look worse than. And you mean to say we are worse than them? Nah, I can't give you that. Yeah, we all share an 0-2 record, but nah, I can't give you that. I'm sorry. It's the Saints aren't that bad. Now it may be black and gold bias there, but no, it's not. It's not black and gold bias. We are not that bad. We're close. We're close. We just got to tweak some things and get some players back that are injured, and maybe, just maybe, we can turn the corner on this thing. Speaking of injuries, let's go over our injury report going into week 3 against the Seattle Seahawks. Starting with our questionable list. Questionable for Sunday's matchup. Wide receiver Trey Palmer. He is questionable. and wide receiver Devon Valet. Valet is how you say it? I think I heard it said Valet, but the wide receiver we acquired from Denver, he is questionable. He has a hip injury that he's dealing with, which is weird because I didn't see him much. He caught a touchdown last week, but that was it. He must have heard it on that touchdown. That's all I can think of. But he is questionable, and questionable means most likely they're going to play. But you just have to wait and see. Trevor Penning, he is questionable. Is kind of an upgrade. There's a possibility he could play, make his season debut this week against Seattle. We desperately need him on that offensive line, especially considering Taliense Fuaga. He is questionable with I didn't see what injury it was, but he's questionable. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully he can play because he's been holding up. Out of all of the problems on that offensive line, the two bright spots, well, I guess you could say three, will be Taliense Fuaga and the rookie Calvin Banks Jr. And you can throw in Eric McCoy. But those are the bright spots on the offensive line. Our guards, horrible. The Cesar Ruiz or Caesar Salad, whatever you want to call him, he is not. He is not it. It's not working out. Now let's move over to the most devastating part of our list, and that is the players who have officially been ruled out of Sunday's matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. Let's start with the big one, the gigantic one. Our rookie defensive tackle, Vernon Brofton, he has been ruled out for Sunday's game against Seattle. And not only that, but for the entire season. He has a hip injury that will put him out for the remainder of the year. And that hurts. That really hurts. He looked great in the preseason. I thought that we were money in the defensive tackle position with him, especially being in that rotation with him and Gotro and Berzee. It looked like we were going to be cooking there. But unfortunately, his rookie season has been cut short with this injury. Also ruled out yet to make his 2025 debut, Chase Young, still dealing with that calf injury. He has been ruled out. And this is what's frustrating me with this. If he's hurt, he's hurt. That's fine. I mean, it's football. You're hurt. People get hurt. Players get hurt. Understandable. The problem that I have is the secrecy behind it. It's like, when it first happened, it's not as bad as people are saying, and this, that, and the third. He'll be back sooner than later. It wouldn't really give a timeline on it. And every week is like an immediately they rule him out. It's not even evaluate. He's not practicing. He's not doing anything. I don't even see him on the sidelines during the game. Now, I could have missed him, and granted, not 100% focused on who's standing on the sideline, but normally you would see that. And I have not seen Chase Young at all. And so what is truly going on with this calf? Or is it a calf? Is it something more serious? Or I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know. And it's frustrating. If so, I hope that whatever the problem is, I hope that it heals itself, that he gets right and get on the field. Because all game Sunday, all I can think about, man, Chase Young would have ate on this play. Chase Young would have did something. And I'm not comparing Chase Young to Micah Parsons or nothing, but I'm saying he is a really good defensive end when he's locked in, when he's focused, and I thought that this was going to be the year, especially in this new defense that we have now. I felt really good about Chase Young's not so much development, but his style of play or his attitude, I guess you could say. But I'm yet to see it. It's just frustrating, man. I could be reading into it too much, quite honest, but it's just frustrating because I want this dude to succeed because I've seen the potential there. I've been watching Chase Young since college. At Ohio State, the dude is a beast when he's locked in. The problem is getting him locked in. And I don't know. But anyways, that's our injury report for this Sunday's matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. Let's move on to the season leaders of each team. And let's begin with the Saints. Passing yards, of course, it's Spencer Rattler. So far this season, he is 52 of 80, 421 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's the key. That's the big one. I can care less about the other numbers. As long as that stays 0, I'm happy. For the Seattle Seahawks, Sam Darnold, baby. Sam Darnold is still out here kicking, man, and doing God's work, I guess you could say. He is proven that nothing can hold him down. It doesn't matter what team cuts him, how many teams he goes on, he's still gonna ball out. He's balling out so far in Seattle. So far, he is 38 of 56, 445 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Rushing yardage leaders for the New Orleans Saints is Alvin Kamara. He's ran the ball 32 times so far this season for a total of 144 yards and 1 touchdown. And for the Seattle Seahawks, Kenneth Walker III, he has ran the ball 23 times for 125 yards and 1 touchdown as well. Leading receiver for each team, the New Orleans Saints leading receiver, believe it or not, is Juwan Johnson. 33. I wish that's how many drops he has, but he has 13 receptions for 125 yards and 1 touchdown. For the Seattle Seahawks, Jackson Smith-Jigba, he has 17 receptions for 227 yards. Our leading sack, or our sack leader, I should say, is Carl Grandison. Carl Grandison has 3.5 sacks so far this season with 2 games. That's a really good. I am impressed. Good job on him. For the Seattle Seahawks, Byron Murphy II with 1.5 sacks. Our leading tackler would be Demario Davis with 20. For the Seattle Seahawks, Ernest Jones IV with 18 tackles this season. Sunday's matchup will be probably the biggest test for Spencer Rattler so far in this campaign as the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. He will have to go on the road and play a pretty good defense, especially their secondary. If he struggled trying to get the ball down the field against Arizona, he's going to struggle fairly mightily against the Seattle Seahawks secondary. Now, the Seattle Seahawks secondary isn't the Legion of Boom or the Legion of Doom, whatever they were called back then, with Richard Sherman and Chandler and who else was on it? Brandon Browner, who came to the Saints and stole money. But yeah, when they had all that back there, it was different. But they still are pretty solid in their secondary and up front too. They're decent up front. It's going to be a test. And speaking of up front, our offensive line is definitely going to be tested, especially with these injuries and with our interior offensive line struggling as well. It's going to be a test to see if Spencer Rattler can stay poised as much as he has. I have gained more respect week in and week out when it comes to Spencer Rattler. He's gotten better from week 1 to week 2. Let's see if he can make another jump. And the way he stayed poised in the pocket able to handle pressure, able to handle adversity, has really impressed me. Now, I know a lot of people, they stuck on numbers. They really want him. Oh, he didn't throw for 300 yards. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. He didn't take any chances. And, I get caught up in that too, from time to time. And rightfully so, because, you got to take chances every now and then. Every now and then you have to test the secondary. You can't just let them dictate to you how to run your offense. And so you do have to test them. But the only way to neutralize a defense that is going to test you, you're going to have to run the ball, especially on the road. I don't care what environment you're in, you're going to have to run the ball. And so the Saints definitely are, I think they're going to have to utilize all three of their running backs here, whether it's Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller, and Devin Neal. They're going to have to throw the kitchen sink at them, implement more short yardage plays such as screen plays, stuff like that, in order to neutralize this defense, or at least attempt to. That's the only way, because this defense already this season, in 2 games in, have 4 interceptions. 4. And so they are ball hawks out there. It's no pun intended. So you're going to have to use your short game. Going to have to run the ball, and in order to give yourself a chance to win the game. Defensively, I meant to say, I think the Saints can hold up. The defense have been holding up so far. Once again, knocking on wood that this stays that way. Yeah, they kind of took a step back last week against the Niners, but yet and still, when they needed to make a stop, they did. When they needed to get them off the field, they did. And so it was up to the offense up to that point. But I think the defense, because Seattle's offense isn't potent. Russell Wilson isn't there no more. They don't have beast mode anymore. No more DJ Metcalf, no more Tyler Lockett. So they're kind of hurting offensively, and that's no disrespect to who they have on the offensive side of the ball. But I'm not 100%. How can I put this? I'm not sitting here saying I'm scared of Sam Darnold. I'll put it that way. Now, I'm still reminded every now and then of, what was that, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago? It could be longer than that. But you remember that game when Sam Darnold was in Carolina, and they was so bad, but they beat us. Now, granted, we had a lot of injuries, but they beat us. Sam Darnold completed 2 passes the whole. I'm not exaggerating. Go look it up. He only completed 2 passes the entire game and won. That's how bad it was. But he did manage to beat us with 2 passes. So if he can complete 3, we in trouble. But Sam Darnold, man, I think he's an average, a pretty decent quarterback, but nobody that strikes fear in me. But it remains to be seen. As far as my pick to win the game, gun in my head, I'm gonna say Seattle. The ESPN has Seattle with a 65% chance to win the game, which is kind of low. Which that's almost even in my mind, because you're on the road against a team that, quote unquote, is the worst team in football. You should dominate them, but they don't feel, at least these analysts here, don't feel that the Saints are going to lay down for the Seattle Seahawks, and I agree with that point. But yeah, gun in my head, I'm gonna say Seattle win. But if I look at this team in its totality, and I'm talking about the New Orleans Saints, if they bring their A game, if they don't play into Seattle's hands, if they can run the ball and run the ball effectively, get the stops defensively that we can do. They've shown us that they can do that. I think the Saints can give us a quasi upset and finally get the victory this Sunday. But I don't know. This is kind of a pick 'em to me. I don't know. I really don't. Honestly, I'm struggling with it here. If you can't tell, I think the Saints can win. Will they win? We'll see. We'll be surprised together this Sunday, 3 o'clock on CBS. The Saints will travel to Seattle to play the Seahawks. I want to know, what do you think is the outcome, or what will be the outcome of this game? Will the Saints finally get the first win of the season, or will we fall to 0-3? Let me know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You could also let me know on social media, just any social media, all social media platforms, the KB Radio Network. Just search for me. I'm there. You can also leave comments in the comment section on YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel. Like this video as well. Don't forget about Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to the podcast of this show. Leave your comments. Don't forget to subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I greatly, greatly appreciate it, and I appreciate you for listening to the Who Dat Say podcast here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me as I battled through this sinus infection or whatever it is. I don't know if you can hear it but I am struggling to get through this show, but I got through it with the grace of God. But in any event, I will catch you after the Saints Seattle game this Sunday as we recap, hopefully, a Saints victory. It doesn't matter though, win or lose. I'm still going to be screaming, "Who dat?"